Hello, everybody. I've got my tea, and we've got plenty more coming. Welcome to the Survivor New York Bannerman Island Exit Interview Podcast. I'm Naomi. You know that already. But more importantly, I have with me the host, the founder, the legend, the are you the mother of the house of Survivor New York? It's Chris Lord, everybody. How are you doing,
You
Chris?
can call me mother, I guess, or father. No, you're mother, I'm father. That's just how it is. We're both mother.
Okay,
Yeah,
exactly.
we're voguing the house down boots. Charlie XCX, right?
Vroom
All the
vroom.
cast are
Well,
the children.
Yes, Annie is our child.
Child.
Our child that
we
lives in
have
Florida.
such an exciting episode today. We're talking to the queen of the Stannies. It is Annie herself. Annie, welcome. Hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. Coming from Florida, so all the way from there, doing good.
That's the
How's the
power of the internet,
weather?
baby.
How's the
Um,
weather down there?
Weather actually today has been raining all. It was like beautiful in the morning, and like me and my roommate were gonna lie by our pool for a little bit, and then like we never actually got around to it. And then by the time it was like, oh yeah, let's go outside, we realized it was like downpouring. So the weather is not great
Oh,
right now, but
wow.
that's Florida. One minute it's like yeah, gorgeous skies, paradise. The next minute a hurricane's blazing through. So
That's Florida. What's like that's Florida people problems. It's like, oh, it started
yes.
raining. I can't go in my pool. Like,
Yes. I mean, hey, I was gonna say, yeah, exactly. Especially when it's in the middle of the winter, then we really complain. It's like, oh
Are
no, it's
are you a
December and we can't use
Florida
our pool.
are you a Florida native or you were born someplace else?
No, I'm a Florida native. Yeah, I was born and raised here. I moved to New York when I was near the city when I was like 17. I was there for a couple years for college, and then I moved back home because I didn't do too great for a semester, and then I moved back home, graduated from school down here, and then I was in Seattle for a minute for grad school, and then I came back to Florida during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And
People
then
are
here's
doing
all
all
it.
over
that
the
about
world.
you.
Yes. There was also
I'm
one
very
other New York stint in between there, but yeah. I love
You
New
know
York.
what?
New York doesn't love me.
I don't know about this about you. What do you do? And I know you were just talking about it before when we were offline, but what do you do
Yeah,
for your
so I
job?
work in events. I am an event manager. I work for a singles
Oh,
club. It's called Events and Adventures, and I plan events basically every day. Some of them are like little just mixers, happy hours to like bigger types of events, like big parties and different types of like we do trips and stuff. I'm going to Kenya in October, which is
wow,
exciting.
that's so
So
cool.
yeah, so we do all different things, but
That's a fun job.
yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of it seems like it's fun and it seems like, oh, I just get to go and do cool stuff all the time, but it is a lot of work too. I work like way too much. I hate it.
yeah, organizing everybody. It's so
Yeah.
easy. It's
No. I mean, I'm sure like yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like when you guys plan these games and everything, you probably understand in a way because it's a lot to coordinate and organize and yeah, get everything together. So
yeah, it is.
So,
Well,
I have
Annie,
a new
let's start.
appreciation for it, like since starting this job. I like look back to that weekend and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think the biggest, you know what, it's crazy. I think for 4, I didn't have anybody like text me their updates. I was just sort of like, you get here when you get here. And then I was like, I'm an idiot. I want to know where everybody is at all hours of the day until they show up to the event. Like, I should like have everybody share their location with me next year just so
No,
I get
seriously,
everyone's
just so
info.
that's
you
not a
know.
bad idea. Get like an air tag and just like keep it on each
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, that suddenly that becomes very like Hunger Games, like we're microchipping everyone and
Everyone.
tracking them. So it's a
Not
little
a bad
too much.
idea.
No, Annie, let's start at the very beginning. I think Chris and I are both curious what made you want to participate to begin with. I mean, I know you're a huge Survivor fan, and so that is not up for debate or up for
Yeah.
question. But what made you want to do something like this?
So for Survivor New York, one of my best friends, Emily, she played in season 5. So she told me about her experience and everything like that. And that was definitely a big like motivation for me to apply. And I just thought it would be like I've always wanted to do the real Survivor, but I just don't I kind of I've never applied actually, and so this, and I don't think I ever will. So I was like, okay, this is like a little taste of it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Does it make you want to be on Survivor more after having participated or less?
I don't know, probably about the same. Like, I think I'm past there was a few years where I was like, oh, I'm gonna make an audition tape, and I never did. I think I'm past the point of thinking that I'm ever gonna actually like be on the real Survivor or whatever. But yeah, but I would do like another live game if my like schedule allows.
So that's
Okay. The
awesome.
legendary Emily
Yeah.
Forrester, who
Yeah.
Emily was robbed. I'll say it.
Yeah,
Season 4.
I'm actually surprised to hear this because I felt like Emily felt very blindsided and hurt overall from her experience, but I'm glad to hear that she was able to like go past that and like suggest the game to someone like you, and then you went on and like did an amazing job. So that's really cool
No,
in
for
that
sure.
regard.
Yeah. She still had a good experience. I
Yeah.
mean, the vote out was rough, of course, but
Yeah,
it
the
always
photo
is.
was rough.
It always is. But overall, it was still like a good experience for her. So,
Brutal.
and yeah.
Yeah. You
Love it.
also talked about, I don't want to get too personal, but I love how raw you did get with us in your very first confessional, how you talked about you had lost touch with Survivor for a long
Yeah.
time, and then like you and your father got together and like watched the show a little bit before he passed.
No, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah. So I had stopped watching like in college. Like we had watched as a family since I was like a kid, since I was yeah, like from the first season and everything. I did a whole rewatch years later and like there were like bits and pieces I remember going back to like Borneo and everything when I was probably like 8 or 9 years old watching it. And then during college, like I think like maybe like Heroes versus Villains, Samoa, those were like maybe like the last seasons that I remember like still kind of watching and everything. And then I took like kind of a couple years away for like just got busy with school and different things like that. And then I like moved back home at one point and moved in with like was living with my dad for a period of time and like kind of got back into like watching it with him and everything. And it was kind of the one thing that we really like were able to like talk about and relate on. Like I was not always an easy teenager to raise and we used to like butt heads a lot, but that was one thing that we were always able to like come together on and everything. So then he passed away in 2014. So that was when it was when Caramoan was airing, or not Caramoan, Cardion was airing, sorry. And so like at that point, like it was kind of hard for me to still watch the show because that was just like our thing. So like I stopped watching it for probably at least about a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. And then like all of a sudden I was like, I want to kind of like get back into it. And then I like started from the beginning and like rewatched all the episodes and everything. And it kind of like reconnected me to like those times that we had spent together and everything. So yeah, that was like another reason why, I wanted to play and everything because I get it because that Survivor is always like very personal and reminds me of those times that I was able to have with my dad and everything. So, and yeah, it's actually fun. Like, this is like the time of the year. His birthday would have been like 2 weeks ago, and like it was just the anniversary of his passing on Tuesday. So,
I think it's like I'm very grateful that you shared that also with us because Survivor, I think, is a very personal thing for a lot of people for reasons like that, and so I'm very grateful that you would share that with us
yeah.
on like even on the program. You know, it means a lot to have you express that.
No, definitely. Like, to this day, that's always a bit. Oh, sorry, my headphones are coming off. Yes. Yeah, and I think about like things like I was not super into the community aspect of Survivor and everything before he passed away. And like I've made so many friends and just my like so many different things have come to my life because of the Survivor community and everything. And in ways I always think about how like that's something that like even though he's passed on that I still have and like because of him.
That's awesome.
It's such a I think a big group of people where you can find very special relationships. And one thing that Annie, I have to say, was difficult is managing your relationships and putting people on this cast because I knew you were so iconic and knew so many people. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like Felipe was a little bit in the mix of like
Yes, I
casting and
do.
things like that. Yeah, and it was like
He's a little bitter that he didn't get cast because he knew that it was that I was probably going to be a bigger draw just also because of my art because women are harder to cast in these things than men and different things like that. But I do know that. Yeah,
everyone's time is right. I also think, Felipe and Ari Ferrari on a season together is just like they're giving the most chaotic lines of all time, and I would love to see it. But we can't have too much chaos all at once. It's gotta like
no, for
give that a
sure.
little. No, but I'm curious how you felt getting there and seeing quite a few familiar faces, and also if that was something that maybe came to mind a little bit of like, what do I do if I see people I know, or how do I balance this. How was that for you?
No, for sure. So actually, I did not really know who the only person that I knew was going to be there ahead of time was Laura, and like we had been, like we weren't super close friends, but we had hung out a few times at different events and stuff like that, and knew each other like decently well and stuff. And but she was the only person that like weeks in advance that I actually knew was going to be there. And then the day of the game, I actually had plans to hang. I was in town for a couple of days before and everything, and I had plans to hang out with Ari. And at that point, I did not know that he was playing that night at all. Felipe told Ari that I was playing, but did not tell me that Ari was playing. So we were like, we got lunch or something, and then like we're like together for a couple hours, and then I like mentioned that like I had mentioned that I had like to like he knew because Felipe told him, so that's how he found out. And so I was like, I have to catch a train at this point and everything like that. And then like as like I was going to say bye, he's like, I'm coming with you, and I was like, wait, what? like all day long. So he had me deceived from before like the game even started. So
Wow.
That is hilarious.
Yes. And then we did actually not wind up going together because like
no, you did not.
Like, the fact that I was like the last person to show
Yeah,
up.
I was like, that doesn't add up.
No, yeah. The reason we did not wind up going together was because shortly as we were like heading towards the train or whatever, I don't know, he like went to give me a hug or something, and I have really like curly hair, and I'm like, and I just didn't want to have to deal with it. So I had gotten my hair like just in the two little braids that I'm wearing in the game and everything before that morning. And then he like somehow did something and knocked out the entire like braid out of my hair. So I had to like, yeah. And I was like, it was ridiculous, but like I should be focusing on just like getting there and everything like that. But no, I was so angry. I was so upset.
So wait, that's the reason why you were late?
That's why I was late. Yeah, I had to run back to the hair salon that was on the other side of town to get my hair redone, and I was gonna take yes.
All these years, I
think he sabotaged me. Actually, I think he purposely did that. No, I'm kidding. I know he didn't. But
I really know the reason.
So yeah, he knocked out my hair, and I had to go get it redone. And there were two train options, and I guess I should have realized that everyone was going to get there as early as possible, but I didn't think I would be the only one on the later train. So.
And if you only knew that Veronica was like doing braids all night for everybody,
if I only knew that. Oh yeah, you don't even want to know what I went to even get these braids. Like unfortunately I went out the night before, which I probably should have not done the night before, like playing Survivor, but I did when I went with it, and I might have had a few too many drinks and everything. So the next morning, I woke up the morning of that I was supposed to play Survivor, like deathly, like hungover, like worse than like one of the worst of my entire life. I was staying at my friend's house that lives in like Queens, and I was gonna take the train to get into the city, and just I had my stuff with me, was gonna go and everything. I had like a 9 a.m. hair appointment or something, and I was like so deathly sick I could not make it onto a train. As I'm waiting for my Uber, I got sick in his neighbor's bushes. Then an Uber picked me up. I also got sick in the Uber, and it was so bad. It was not great. It was not great at all. There was a journey. So I spent a $91 Uber into the city because I was too hungover to take the train. And then I spent then I had to go back and get it fixed. I probably spent like way more. I think I spent more money to get my hair done for the game than like whatever the entry thing is for the game.
This is the gnarliest story ever of any contestant ever.
Of anyone trying to get to the game.
Yes. Because once the situation happened where Ari knocked out my hair, I had an Uber. I didn't have enough time to take a train across town to get my hair done again, so I had an Uber again. It was a mess.
Oh
my God. I can't believe I've never heard this from Ari. That's what I'm like.
Yeah.
I can't believe that in the 2 years since it's been, I have not heard the story once.
No. But I made it. I was the last person there.
Can you talk about, everyone talks about this to this day. Can you talk about the outfit that you showed up in?
Wait, what did I show up in? I'm trying to
You
remember.
were wearing like 4-inch platform wedges.
I mean, that's difficult for me.
You were wearing wedges, and I believe you were wearing jeans, and then also like sort of like tube top.
Oh, I know which one I was wearing. Okay, I remember. I think I was wearing like high-waisted jeans and probably like a bodysuit. I'm assuming. I think it was like a nude colored bodysuit, maybe. Actually, no. I remember. It was a tube top. I totally remember now. Okay.
Yeah, it was a tube top because I was like, not only is she gonna have to do the challenge in heels, right? But like also in a tube top. And that's the funnier thing to like
That's right. It was
Survivor.
a tube top. I still have it in my closet. I know exactly what it was now. It was like the tie dye. It was like orange and bluish tie dye. Yeah, and
Yes.
I had jeans
Oh
on.
my
Yes,
god.
and then
They're
yeah, I
so
had
funny.
yes, I had I think white platform heels.
Davey
I didn't
mentions that outfit like I swear to God, like once a week.
I didn't think that we were jumping right into a challenge, and I also thought that like I would have time to change into like more comfortable like gay. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, that's
I
part
put a lot
of
of
it.
thought into it. I did like I knew what I was thinking. I put a lot of thought into like all my outfits for the game. Like I had yes, but
Sure.
That's true.
Yes. Well, that's also part of it is like we want to keep people on their toes. So season 4 had just started the day of. And so we're like, okay, these people think that we're gonna start tomorrow. So let's start tonight. Like we were really trying to like shake up everybody's thoughts about how the game was gonna go.
Yeah.
So I guess we got you. I don't know if we got
No.
anybody else. We got you.
No, you got me. And it's funny, that was like my casual outfit. Like, because I wear dresses a lot. I always wear heels. Like I'm 5'1", so I like 90% of the time have heels on unless I'm like doing an athletic event, which is rare. So but yeah, that was my casual outfit. So
We admire the commitment, I think for sure. So let's talk about day 0 after
yes.
you show up finally.
Yes, I finally show up. I think it's like 10 o'clock at night by the time I finally get there. I think I had to like train and everything. It was not good.
Yeah, it was I think it was like 9:30. I don't think it was like brutal
Okay.
It
brutal.
wasn't that bad.
But
Yeah.
you're meeting all these people. Is there anyone you remember your first impression of that was like a new person you met on that night in general?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a few people. Yeah, I remember having a good impression of Talk from the beginning, but we never interacted in the game because we were on different tribes and everything. And before his vote out, Danny, I didn't have the best first impression of him. He was just like kind of smarmy. I think. Not in a bad way. He's great now. I know him now and everything, but that was just like initially, like, yeah, I think he was like trying to play the flirt card with every single girl in like a nearby vicinity. So, and I saw him do it to like 4 people before it got to me. So it didn't have like the same effect on it at that point.
Oh my God. Moving on.
I'm trying to think of who else. I feel like I'm talking too much.
No.
Well,
McKenna too. McKenna, I remember us talk. I don't remember what exactly we talked about, but there was some subject that we like got on and were like talking about for like a very long time and like related on.
One of the people I have sort of the most questions about is your relationship with Stan, particularly because in episode 1 we start to see you really talk about like Stan is somebody I'm working really closely with. I feel like he's one of my number 1 allies. And I'm wondering where this relationship started, whether it was night 0 or when you were in a tribe on day 1. How what made you connect with Stan to the point where he became your number 1 ally in some
I
ways?
don't know. I mean, in retrospect, I'm like, why did I think he was my closest ally? I don't know. But no, we do have some mutual friends and everything. So I think that was part of it. That like a lot of people that I knew, I know from the community and everything had really high good opinions on Stan and everything. So I think that was part of it. But I don't remember. I think we definitely talked on night 0, but I don't remember what we necessarily like the first thing that like we clicked and everything. But he also really reminds me of one of my close friends, and just I think similar. Sometimes you meet somebody that reminds you of someone, and you're like, I can trust that person because you're associating with them with someone, even though they're not the same people at all or have the same like intentions or anything. But yeah, he reminded me of my friend Jonathan a lot, and I was like, okay.
I'm really curious, what was your thoughts on like seeing yourself in like sort of like the episode format, like on Survivor, like in a fake Survivor, but
yeah, no, I did not. Okay, so I actually did. I don't know if I should. I guess I'll admit it. But yes, I didn't actually watch like any of the beginning of the episodes first.
I could have told you that. I could have guessed that.
Yeah, I watched them now. I did not want to watch myself at all. Like I don't like this. I hate the sound of my own voice. I find myself very annoying, and so I had I originally when I knew the episodes were coming out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch it, and then like the first episode came out, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it with my mom. My mom loves me. Like she'll be supportive and like be like someone nice and like but then I just never like it just never worked out where like we were able to watch it together. And then when I went on a cruise with a couple of people from the like Survivor New York community, and then when that episode came out, everybody was watching it together, and that was the first episode I watched. I think it was the Robin Boot, and then after that I went back and watched them and have watched since. But yes, so but yes, so it was not a good reaction.
So now, but you feel okay watching, like now that you finished it, like you feel all right, or you're still like...
mostly like I like don't cover my eyes anymore. Like I'm not even joking. The first couple episodes I watched, every time I would go on screen, I would literally like cover my eyes as I was watching, and like watch through like my eye, like be like, okay, I'm off the screen. I can pay attention again. Like,
yeah, I mean, I know that there's this feeling of when you play live. I feel like sometimes men don't understand this sometimes. Not you, Chris, necessarily, but like some guys will be like, oh, do you want to like go in the woods for 4 days? And I'm like, I don't think you understand how haggard I look after no shower one day. And the last thing I want to do is have a camera in my face like 4 days post no shower. Like, and it always, I find that live reality games always manage to capture people like so up close and in their worst moments sometimes. And
like
you
the
just
worst
feel like, get me out of here.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, it was very, very. I guess I got used to seeing myself on camera after a couple episodes, and I'm not as bad. But the first couple episodes I watched, I'm not even joking. I was like fully like covering my eyes every time my voice went on screen. I'm like singing "Row, row, row your boat," so I don't have to listen to myself. Like,
well, I would recommend listening to yourself because I thought that you had some great insights throughout the season and especially early on. I think maybe people underestimated how good at sort of being aware of your surroundings you were. I thought you were very observant and understanding of like a lot of the dynamics that were going on. And we're going to talk more about them because I think there are some gaps that we're missing. But overall, like you very much had the right read on a lot of people. And it was like very entertaining.
Earlier on, it went downhill after that.
One of the first questions I have is like the whole Julia idol thing, but also in relation to Jeremy and Veronica, because it starts off that everyone says like, okay, Jeremy and Veronica are a big threat and everybody's telling Julia what to do with her idol. Where was your head at during, Julia finding the idol and like all the sort of plans that were getting thrown out at this tribe that was never losing?
Yes, I mean, the idol just like because we were like not losing and everything. It kind of felt like so kumbaya and everything, and we were like I don't think anyone actually thought that like it was a tribe idol. I know I didn't. I knew that was Julia's idol, but there was this idea going on that like we were gonna have the idol in the merge and like we'll use it as a tribe idol and everything like that. And like, but
you did famously call them the Okie Dokie tribe.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, where did that come from? That was so funny.
I didn't say the right. I think I was trying to think of like a different expression. Like, I still don't know the expression that I was trying
like
to
hunky dory.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying.
Yeah, you said
okay, actually, I do know. I do remember kind of why. Yeah, like hunky dory and everything. Yes, like it actually goes back to like my mom, like when she was in like high school or whatever. She used to have like a group of friends, and because she was the nice one, they would call them the Floridora girls or something. And it kind of and they would say like hunky dory, and that's kind of where. And I got it confused with okie dokie somehow. I don't know, but that's where. That's kind of where that thought process came from.
It was so iconic we made it an episode title. So
yes.
Yeah, so so as far as like Julia having the idol and everything, like I mean, at least I was happy that our tribe, we at least knew where the idol was, and at that point we were on such a like winning streak and everything that it didn't seem like a huge threat in that moment that Julia had the idol, and it kind of seemed like something that could like work with us with Purple like moving forward and all.
I want to ask you, I feel like Purple Tribe in general, we knew, Veronica and Jeremy's standpoint. We kind of saw the standpoint of Andrew, Stan, and Julia. Your name was brought up in the first episode by a few people to be voted up first. They said something about challenge liability, but obviously it never mattered because you guys won so much. Where do you think you really stood in that tribe? And then let's say in a perfect world that Stan doesn't get swapped like onto blue. Like where do you think the vote could have gone, and would you have just followed along?
I feel like like with that vote, that was actually like, I mean, it's the first vote, so I think it's kind of natural that that's one of the harder votes and everything, because you have never done that before. But throughout the game, that was probably one of the hardest votes, like, because
Yeah.
I actually connected with Andrew really early on. We have the exact same birthday, so we're birthday
Yes, I love
twins.
that detail
Yes.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we like realized, like, I thought he was joking with me, like when he said like what his birthday was. I think I said my birthday first or something. I don't know how it came up in conversation. He was like, "Oh, that's my birthday too," and I totally thought he was joking with me. And like we had to take out his like ID and everything to like be like, "Oh yeah, we actually have the exact same birthday." So like, we connected like pretty early on, and I felt like he was somebody that I was like secure in like working with and everything. And Stan and him also had a like good connection and all. So I think if like when Stan left to go on to the other tribe, and then we lost that immunity, I think that if Stan was there, the vote may have gone a different way. I can see it maybe because Veronica and Jeremy were getting very close at that point and everything, and they were kind of starting to emerge as a duo. I could see it maybe have landing on one of them instead. But yeah, like yeah, potentially personally I probably would have advocated more towards voting out Veronica, because I did know Jeremy previously and everything, so like just going with the unknown. But yeah.
I gotta tell you, this season is crazy. If Veronica is like if third or fourth
Yes.
boot,
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
It
that's
goes
such
in a
an
totally
insane
different direction. Yeah.
alternate timeline of this season for
No, for sure.
sure.
But
For
yeah,
real.
but I mean, then what happened is it came down to a situation where I think it was going to be between me and Andrew. And as much as I liked Andrew and did not want him to be the first person voted out on our tribe, it's like self preservation. So
Yeah, I think this brings up a question that we've been meaning to ask you, because I remember watching this round go down, and I was like, Andrew's really not being very direct with Annie about like they're targeting both of us. If we get Julia, like we can, we can flip this if we sort
if
of
we,
get together. But I feel like that never was spoken out loud enough to get
it
any real
into a plan.
traction.
Yeah.
Yeah, how would you have felt? Because Andrew was very firmly not going to vote for you,
Yeah.
and he did it on also the principle of he didn't want to vote out a woman
A
in
woman
the tribe
first. Yeah.
first. How do you think that scenario would? And of course, you would have had to convince Julia, and I still don't
Yeah.
really know where Julia, where that
Where she
timeline goes.
stood
But
in that timeline and everything. Yeah.
yeah, but how do you
Yeah.
feel?
I mean, in retrospect, I think we probably could have gotten Julia, because I also didn't realize that her and Stan had a very strong connection and everything. So I think that she would have gone more towards that side of things. But then again, like I said, so actually how Andrew didn't want to vote out a woman first. So probably then would have been Jeremy. And like, I guess between Jeremy and Andrew, I still might have gone Andrew, because I felt like I had a good like bond with Jeremy. I had known him previously. We sat next to each other at a know-it-alls a bajillion years ago.
Yeah.
But at night zero, we like hung out all night and kind of formed that like initial connection and stuff. So I kind of had more trust in him, even though like Andrew obviously probably would have had my back more. So I mean, I guess if like looking back on it, we probably could have pulled Julia, and yeah, the whole game would have been completely different. But in that moment, yeah, it was just not vocalized enough. So it kind of became a thing of like me versus like either vote him out or I could be the target.
Definitely, that's what it felt like watching it.
I want to ask about the challenges, because I feel like we haven't talked so much about this in like the podcast. Like, how did you feel about the first 4 challenges as on your tribe?
So I did terrible on the first challenge. I was like I knew going into playing this that getting in the like the beginning challenges and everything, that the tribal challenges were going to be like one of my biggest weaknesses in the game, and that was going to be one of the biggest hurdles I had to overcome, was not being seen as a giant challenge liability. So, but aside from the first challenge, I think I held my own more than I was expecting to. Like I don't, yeah. So, and especially then once we were like winning and everything like that, that became like no longer as big of an issue. And in the one that we did lose, and like Andrew was the one that like messed up that challenge in a way. So I again was not like blamed for that.
That was a brutal challenge, that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But then the swap challenges, of course, that then we became a disaster. Right? So I just got lucky that the numbers were on my side there.
It's true. But I also think that you were doing some of the puzzles, right, Annie? Like it wasn't Jeremy was doing some of them and you were doing some. Like I
Yeah.
feel like um challenge start whatever is always like the worst excuse in the world to me. Like a big like who cares? Nobody cares. And I think that your tribe, the swap tribe in particular, uh the challenge strength was not the end of the world. I think it was a little disorganized, a little discombobulated, like the easel challenge. But it, people were smart on that tribe. It was like like challenge
Yeah.
strength is so whatever. It's so what's
Kind
the
of
word? Like
arbitrary.
subjective.
Yeah,
Subjective
subjective.
is what I'm
Okay, yeah.
thinking of. But
Mhm.
let's talk about the swap. Because
Oh
the
my
swap.
gosh. This is where her storyline really picks up. I feel like this is
Yeah,
where we really get to know Annie. And
Yeah.
there's so many good stories.
That's where we kind of that's where things
um,
become a disaster.
well, I found Annie that this is the moment where I think you really asserted yourself. Like the episode where you guys go to tribal, you can almost be seen as a backseat driver, which I don't think is
Yeah.
necessarily the case. You were sort of more like it's just don't vote me out, but you really start to be a secret backseat driver, which I love. Like you're really sort of like swaying things, but not running the show like
Not like,
Veronica
yeah.
is kind of running the show. How was this to watch back? How did you feel seeing this experience all over
I
again?
mean, I guess like yeah, seeing it over, I think I like had this perception over time that I did not do enough in the game or did not make enough of like my own kind of moves and everything, and I kind of went with the flow more than like I wish I would have. So kind of getting to see that and see that I did contribute in like ways, especially in those type in that swap tribe and everything. What was like interesting to see and kind of made me feel a little bit better about my overall like arc. but
Yeah.
but yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think we had a good at that point and everything. Me, Julie, and Veronica really had a good collaboration and stuff going. Where like, yeah, it's like three. I feel like three women tend to listen to themselves to each other a little bit more than like men sometimes. So
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
I think that helped that it was the three women running, like kind of trying to run the show, and we were all like at least open to hearing each other's thoughts and ideas and everything.
Yeah.
Well, so you're on a tribe with McKenna, the new people.
Yeah,
McKenna, somebody who you had a good connection with. Sharif, Edsel, Kayla. How did you feel being on a tribe with especially I think that first round is so funny because like Kayla maybe could have survived, but she doesn't, and there's so much chaos.
chaos. Yeah.
Where were your interests? Was it protecting McKenna? Was it trying to vote out a man? Was your goal in that sort of first
I
early
mean,
round?
when going into like seeing that swap situation, I would have thought that McKenna was going to be in the middle of the two tribes and that she was going to be the swing vote. But then we get once we like realized the situation that like Blue was in like disarray and it was like Kayla versus Sharif and Etzel, like that it became an entirely like different ball game and everything. And like I would have like, and of course we just were saying about like challenge strength and everything that did definitely play into like a factor, as well as why kind of I think we went with the boys more than we did with Kayla and everything. But
Mm.
also Kayla just seemed like like she's great, like nothing, so like she's so wonderful and everything, but during that period something about her just felt like sneaky, like we didn't necessarily buy her story which she was selling. The boys were able to kind of sell their version of events and like make, and the promises that they were making just kind of added up better than what Kayla was saying.
That's interesting. The idea of
Mhm.
selling your version of events, not even necessarily the truth, but just
Yeah.
like
I
this
mean,
is my side of the
no
story.
one's gonna be telling 100% of the truth. Everybody has their own perspective on how things happen. So
Yeah, I think that goes back to what Julia had said in the episode, which is like that she didn't think that Kayla was providing enough information.
mhm.
Really, is what I think it boils down to. Because Kayla is like very legitimate in her want and desire to get away from the two boys,
Yes.
and in the truth of like I will work with you guys, and she does vote Edsel. It's just sort of a like you said, like matter of where does everybody's interest align. And I think on the other side of things, McKenna is somebody who I think comes off as like a great ally at first, and then everyone kind of comes to the realization of like, oh wait, oh shit, They got a lot of green people over there. Hang on,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yes, like because they were pretty green strong at that point otherwise. So like we kind of in the second vote during the swap and everything, that's where we were kind of realizing like where the numbers lie and everything, and that like there were other things that we were kind of like able to pick up on like night zero. Like Kristen and McKenna were super close. They became like besties like right away. So we all kind of knew that like like if McKenna comes into the merge with us, she's running right back over to green. And we were and it kind of seemed like because we had Sharif and Edsel too, that's two as opposed to McKenna is a one number, and we kind of felt like Sharif and Edsel would have been able to bring Brienne into the purple, and everybody kind of go against green when it came down to a merge.
The dream that that Sharif won't flip on you immediately.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh, you know what I want to ask Annie is, how do you feel about the whole decoy vote situation? Because that was one of your big storylines.
Decoy
You're
drama.
constantly the decoy vote.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I applaud your game so much in the fact that instead of being angry and then turning against Veronica, you decide to stick by her, knowing that she really, in the end, has your back. You could have turned on her. You could have said to the boys and McKenna, let's do Veronica. She keeps throwing out my name. But you stuck with her to get to the merge. And yeah, just talk about like that whole experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I do understand that like someone is going to have to be the decoy vote and everything like that, and I got that, and I was like, and Veronica kind of approached it in a way that was very like honest, and like she was very good at like kind of building that trust that I did believe that she did have my best interest, and that she was not trying to vote she did not want me to get voted out of the game, and that me staying in the game was also aligned with her best interest as well. But then it just became a thing that over and over and over again, it got old kind of. And I mean, I also understand like you're not gonna, if this is working for her, you don't want to change it up and have a second decoy name that then that person's gonna be pissed off at you too. But yeah, once we got into the merge, and I was still always coming up as Veronica's first choice as a decoy name, especially then when there were other people that were not even like aligned with us, and there were people like outside of our lines that were available as decoys, yet I was still the decoy name. That was kind of where I was like, okay, enough is enough. Like I'm over this.
Also, like you're getting thrown in as the decoy, and at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, nobody in the swap tribe is going to actually vote for me. Yeah. But then, on the other hand, when you get to the merge, those people could vote for you. Like they would, like
once your name gets floated out there and everything, it's hard to get it to get that out of people's minds. Like.
Was anything that like Veronica and Julia doing that you didn't like know in person that you saw in the episodes like surprise you?
I'm trying to remember in particular. I can't really think of anything like off the top of my head right now. That like, yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't really think of
okay.
anything right off the top of my head right now. Honestly, like the swap episodes are the ones that are kind of the blurriest to me, like right now.
Well,
I feel like you were very tired for sure.
Yes.
The interesting thing is that like Annie, you really only get you get 2 votes in the Kayla elimination. You get 1 vote in the McKenna elimination. Your name comes up a lot, but you don't get another vote until Stan votes for you when Julia goes home.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that some people were thinking that, so like Andrea on season 4, she got so many votes because she was the decoy and everybody just voted for her. Whereas I think that you were a decoy name that was so obviously the decoy name that everybody knew that like if that's the plan you were being told, that was a lie, which is so funny. Yeah. Even though I still think it's like, yeah, keep my name out of your fucking mouth. But like it's so funny that you really because I think some people are like, oh, who has the most votes cast against them this season? And I'll say it's actually Veronica. Veronica has the most votes cast against her. She has 5 more than you do, which is really funny.
And it would be assumed that it was me because my name came up in so many episodes, and there were definitely a few tribal councils that I was like expecting votes or thinking that it was going to turn on me, like the merge especially and everything, and like I'd be like, oh, I don't have a single vote. So I think that also like helped with the security of being the decoy vote, but at some point the decoy vote becomes the actual person voted out.
Exactly. Chris, what else should we talk about? We're only at the merge right
What
now.
we're at the merge, yeah. So I feel like
Yes.
the pregame was pretty great for you because you won the first three immunity challenges, and then you were in control for all four of the tribal councils in the game. But then you get to the merge, and it really is true chaos. We don't have a lot
Yes.
of time. Your name is the first name brought out. I don't know if
No,
you
yeah.
remember that.
No, it is. Yeah, I
Everybody
do
was
remember that.
talking about that. Eventually Stan and Sharif were like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Sharif really did have your back because you had just saved him. And they tossed the vote onto Jeremy. Jeremy's telling Julia to play the idol. Can you recap that night from your
Yeah, no, it
perspective?
was like madness, definitely. Like we were also, it was all excited to have made the merge, and I don't think anybody was expecting us to, like we weren't. I wasn't expecting us to go into a whole nother challenge and tribal like that night. I think we thought that like after the Edsel vote, we were all going to bed and doing it like the next morning and everything. So like that,
Expect the
yeah,
unexpected.
that in its own was like, yeah, it's kind of like, okay, we're still, yeah, we got another round of this. We're still like it's still happening and everything, and like, and yeah, so we had just saved Sharif, and we were thinking that we had purple, and then we were able to hopefully bring in blue to take out a green. So kind of at that point, I think my side was kind of like, or the people that I was working with, or so I thought at least, were going after Danny. I think that was Veronica's main plan and everything, because he came in second in the immunity challenge, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so he came in second, and that was kind of like Veronica was like, okay, this is our opportunity to get out Danny. He's going to be a challenge threat and everything. But I think at that point, we really like the other purple people really underestimated the like ties that Stan had made during the swap, and I think that's when that whole like big boys alliance and everything was formed. So yeah, I think that's really like the point where we should have seen the ties to that would get him deeper into the game, and we were all of us, I think, were very blinded to that. I think we still thought that Stan was very like purple strong to a certain extent, and then yeah, at one point, so I think at one point it was Jeremy wasn't a name at all. It was me and Danny that were like the two biggest names that were like being thrown out there and everything. And then me and Danny, I remember us having like some sort of like little powwow. And it's like, well, I don't want it to be me. You don't want it to be you, but we're kind of targeting each other right now. Who can we target kind of instead? And Danny was that, I believe, yeah, he was the one that kind of threw out Jeremy's name, I believe, and if I remember correctly. And I mean, that wasn't necessarily in my best interest, but it was also a thing where it wasn't me. Like it was
Yeah.
better.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I think
Yeah.
also Jeremy, for what it's worth, we remember that there's the twist where somebody from that side got to cast a vote at your sort of penultimate where this tribal council right before the merge, and Sharif gets a vote from Jeremy. So I think that Jeremy's name was like he was just covered in glue. Like once everybody had a reason to like stick to voting for him. Whereas I think that what Sharif had talked about in the merge episode is that he was very intentionally trying to protect you, Veronica, and Julia because you had just done him this favor. But that doesn't mean that his interests were like he was protecting you, but he wasn't like
Yeah, but he
operating
wasn't
within what you wanted.
exactly. It wasn't our plan. Yeah, he was helping us like personally and as individuals, but not necessarily for the greater good of the purple tribe and other people that we were aligned with necessarily. So yeah, definitely, yeah, exactly. And I think Jeremy kind of just became a name that a lot of people could like agree on and kind of be like, okay, Jeremy makes sense for my game and everything, and then there was like the situation with like Kristen too, where they were like forging a bond and everything, and then I think Jeremy went that was at the tribal where Jeremy kind of flew up Kristen's spot and everything as well. So I mean, yeah, I think what it came down to though was me and Danny both saw bullets at ourselves, and then it kind of became a thing where, okay, who else? And then I also think that Stan helped orchestrate that a little bit as well. And like again, I think that's how we should have seen that he was no longer aligned with like purple as strongly, because I think he was also somebody that was behind the scenes pulling the strings on the Jeremy vote.
Definitely.
I just wanted to ask really quickly, sorry, Chris, about
no,
the Jeremy call out. Because I think that was such a messy, perfect moment, but I think it was very intentional, as we've talked about with Jeremy, that he wanted to give you information like the idol nullifier,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to sort of throw somebody under the bus in order to help you guys, and maybe allow Julia to like either play her idol or whatnot. How did you feel hearing all that information? Because as you say in the episode, you're kind of like, well, I thought it was me, so I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
Yeah, I went in that tribal thinking that there was a very good chance that I was being voted out. I thought everybody was lying to me. I mean, you're playing Survivor. You're under the assumption most of the time that someone's lying to you and everything. So the idea that, and the Jeremy thing was kind of like last minute. Like he found out about his name being thrown out there like seconds before we had to go to tribal and everything like that. So I think it was a thing where it was the last name and everything. But yeah, I definitely thought that it was on me. So then when all that information was coming out and everything, it was definitely like, it was a very chaotic tribal. And
do you have a thumbnail of her face when she finds out about the like, I remember
I only
like
have,
you had like there are so many like little Annie moments of her like with a shocked face. And it was hilarious when you got shocked like that. There you go. I mean,
everybody is such a hate. Yeah, and just
look at Stan. Wait, go back. Okay, go back for a second. Stan's face is so funny there. Like,
look at Veronica. Veronica in the corner is hilarious. She's got the
everybody is like so angry.
Yes.
I also love the way Danny wears his buff in this episode. It's like very like for some reason it's just like very peanut head. I don't know. I love it.
Bringing up Danny, I think you've brought this up many times, Naomi, but your relationship with Annie is so bizarre in a way, but it's like this relationship, it seems so intense and so strong, and it really did help in the game, and it got you both to the final 6. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like it was like a very low-key, like powerful alliance.
I mean, I don't know if I would call it an alliance. I think that there were just times that our interests aligned with each other and we were able to put past. I mean, I don't think I definitely did not trust Danny at any real point in the game. Like, and I don't think he really trusted me either. So I think there were just certain moments where we realized that this was the best move moving forward for like both of us, and we were able to collaborate in those moments. But yeah, I definitely would not. Yeah, I wouldn't call it an alliance, but yeah.
Okay, another question.
I found it fascinating. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, hot take. Do you want to smooch Danny?
Absolutely not.
Smooch.
That was the cutest thing ever.
Absolutely not.
I just like watching your brain sort of work is like, I know I'm not saying the right thing, but I have no idea what I want to say. Forget it. Like so many times you've had that disease. It's so funny. That was almost an episode title. I think I don't know if we told you that we were very close to making.
I didn't know that one. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So like with Danny, I always, like I said, from night 0, like there was just something that seemed smarmy to me. And like, I like Danny now, outside of the game, he's great and everything. But in the game, there was just something that never seemed super genuine. And like, so I wouldn't say that we ever had an alliance. I would just say that there were times that our interest worked well in the same direction. If anything, like I think Danny in the game like kind of prevented me from working more closely with like Kristen, for example, who is someone that I definitely, out of the entire game, I wish I like kind of had more trust in her and like was able to work with her, because I didn't realize that there were a lot of situations where she had my back and was protecting me a lot more than I realized. But because she was so close with Danny, who I did not necessarily trust at the time, because of that, I then by association didn't trust Kristen as much as I wish I had.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how when you look at the way the game manifests and plays out in retrospect, that it's almost like Danny gets in the way of a lot of other relationships for me, which is great for him and like terrible for everybody else. Like I think he gets in the way of like Kristen connecting with not only you, but I think connecting even more closely with like Brienne in a way. I think that Stan kind of gets in the way of Veronica connecting with people. Like everybody is sort of just like wedging all these people apart who do have very similarly aligned interests. And it's like, this is another alternate universe like that could have existed.
No, exactly. And like Kristen was also like, she was very like girl strong and everything throughout like most of the merge and everything. And like, but like at one point, I think there was one point where we were trying to do like a girls type of alliance and everything. We realized that I think it was the vote that was it the vote that Andy went home, maybe? I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the vote that Andy went home where they were trying to do an alliance with the girls and Robin and everything. And then I think because everybody had these guys that they were also working with, like Brienne was working closely with Sharif, and Danny was working closely with Kristen and everything, that it was never able to like really form that girls alliance. And like also, yeah, I kind of felt like Brienne, like even as it got further in the game, I think there were a couple other points where we tried to do some sort of girls alliance. I think that like for me, I always felt like Brienne wasn't committing, so like I wasn't going to also commit. But Kristen was definitely the one that really tried to drive the women working together the most. And I think like in retrospect, yeah, I wish I had, again, I wish I had more trust
I
in
have to
that than I
say
did.
that's the most disappointing moment in the whole season because I feel like you pitched that alliance between you, Kristen, and Brienne, that chat that the three of you had, and everything you said and Kristen said made so much sense. And it would have been such a great final tribal council, the
Yeah.
three of you, and you all would have had a very fair shot, I think, of winning.
Yeah, for sure. But I understand why Brienne didn't want to go with us, because we I didn't have I didn't have any relationship with Brienne before the merge, and then throughout the merge we didn't have the strongest connection. And her and Sharif were together at like day one, and then they got back together at the merge and were like very strong and everything. So it makes sense why she wasn't going to go with me and Kristen, who were more unknowns, over someone that she was able to like put her like trust in and everything. But
Yeah, but I think that's one of the moments that reminds you that one of these games has a lot more fluidity than a 26 or 39 season of Survivor, where, like, let's just jump off the bus. Like, let's just take the risk and go for it and pursue it, and see if it works out. It's almost like sometimes you'd rather take the risk uh than not bother, or like, just sort of let things go how they want to go. Um Kristen says Annie phrased that way better than I ever could have. What a strategic queen.
aw.
Um I also wanted to talk to Annie about, now again, Julia's Idol, the
Yeah.
ghost of Julia's Idol. That Julia's Idol is going on Ghost Island no matter what. But especially in
Mhm.
this moment where like there is this sort of like half concocted plan of like Kristen would play the idol for Robin and Julia would play it for Veronica, and then Danny would go home with one vote. Um this was quite the chaotic round. Absolute madness. How did you feel about Julia's Idol at this point? Because I think that there was a lot of uncertainty from her and how she was going to use it, but also you and Veronica had been so close to her and had been, you knew that idol was there the whole time,
Yeah.
and she was getting definitely put through the ringer, I would say, in those moments.
No, for
What's
sure.
your insight on
Yeah,
all of
at the
that?
time, we didn't realize that Julia and Robin had like a pre-existing relationship, and that they were like working together closely and everything. So we, in our eyes, and mine and Veronica's eyes, Julia was our ally, but in reality, I think that she was looking towards like Robin and her thing, and the thing that they had with Stan, as well as like potentially a stronger connection. So like, yeah, that I think that was a key part of the puzzle of why that whole plan and everything didn't work out, and why we were so confused by it. And like the point in where she gets up at the tribal, and like she's like going back and forth and everything. Everyone's like, what the hell is going on here? Like I thought she was losing it. Like after that tribal, that was the one where I was like, okay, I'm done with Veronica, I'm done with Julia, because like Veronica keeps using my name as a decoy. Julia, who the hell, like, what, I don't know what that was. Like, I was just like, yes. So it was like madness, and like, yes, a lot of chaos and everything. And I mean, I do think it could have been a good plan and kind of aligned with even Julia's interest at the time, but I think I didn't fully grasp the relationship that she had with Robin. So
Yeah. And it's hard. And that plan also, I think, is incredibly complicated. This is like, I don't know if anyone else watched Pee-wee's Playhouse, but it's like, what's the word of the day? And it's like Julia's Idol. Yeah, it was total mad, and it was chaos. And I think that the plan was really complicated. And in the end, is Danny going home better for maybe your game, Annie, than Robin going home? Because I don't know how much of a relationship you really even had with Robin.
No, yeah, for sure. I think Robin going home was probably better for my game. Like even though they like did the whole call out where they said this whole alliance that like I wasn't even a part of and everything. Like when they got voted out, but yeah, like I mean Robin, I don't think trusted me. Like I had known Robin a little bit through like the org world and everything, and I guess at some point I might have mentioned that I know that she does that they do a lot of these games,
Yeah.
and that got back to them, and so that's why I think it was in the merge. I think that's why the merge, or maybe the episode that Andy got voted out. I can't remember which one, but they were putting my name out there and everything.
Yeah,
So
that all kicks off at some point.
yeah, yeah. So for sure, it was better for my game at that point for Danny to stay.
I love the mini feuds that come out of this season, right, Chris? Where it's like
Oh my
you
god.
and Robin, and then like Stan and Veronica, like all these sort of like little pop-ups of just like
It's
everybody's
like
mad at each
perfect
other.
for
What's
like
going
a
on?
Survivor New York rivalry season. It'll be perfect.
Be lit,
Yes.
yeah.
Seriously. What did you think about at the final? I'm thinking like a little bit ahead. Like so the final 7, it's like finally come time, it's like you versus Veronica. Like one of you guys is going home. And I just wanted to know, like from your perspective, what did you feel like you had to put up a big fight to stay, or what did you think it was like very easily Veronica leaving there? Because I heard like through the edit, it seemed like it could have gone either way.
I mean, it could always go any way in Survivor, so I was definitely like keenly aware that something can just switch at the drop of a hat and everything. But at that point, I did feel like the like aside from me, I think probably maybe Sharif and Brienne, but I felt like I had the majority of people that were more going to vote for me for Veronica over me. I felt confident that like Kristen and Danny and Stan all had my back, and I knew that even if Veronica was able to pull the Blues over, that I still had the numbers. But again, anything can go wrong.
For sure. Another really funny moment for me is when Kristen asks you to look her in the eye. And then, it all made sense because truly, Annie, when I was editing the season, I was like, Annie's never looking anybody in the eye. When she talks to them, you're always like looking somewhere
In like
else.
outer space, I think that's just me.
And then when I saw that, I was like, now it makes sense. It makes sense.
I need to get better at that. I need to be better with eye contact.
It was just such a funny, like wholesome moment in the season between you and her, and it was really cute. You had some of the best little moments like that.
It was a lot of fun.
I love also like I think my favorite dynamic, Annie, is you and Julia. Whenever you get into these like little whisper powwows, and the camera would just be like so up close in your face because we couldn't hear anything you were saying, but you both were so like on the same page. I loved watching you two interact. I always, in my head, it was always like it felt like two little birds like chirping at each other and then being like, "All right, great, move!" Like let's go.
Just like concise, get to the point. Yes.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's so fun watching that back.
Something that I think was really interesting, especially knowing how the game ends up, knowing what happens, is the final 6 is this combo of 3 men and 3 women from each of the tribes, 6 people, and there are all these little divisions, but then there are the 2 pairs of Danny and Kristen, there's Sharif and Brienne, but then there's you and Stan. And I am very curious about your headspace in this moment, in this vote, because I felt like Kristen and Brienne were very confident in their duos. How did it feel to be with Stan, especially, in the end, your name is getting thrown out there a lot and you do go home. What were you thinking as this round happened?
Yes. Well, Stan was very, very, very good at making you feel like you were like he was protecting you and that you were part of his plan and everything. I think he did that with like several people, which is why I think he won in the end, of course, and got as far as he did and didn't get any votes and everything. So, I mean, at that point, I did feel like Stan had my back, but I also kind of like thought about the fact that like, yes, that is potentially a good position to be in for him as far as being that middle person for the final five and everything. That whichever way goes, there's a kind of a fit. Like he's pretty. He could be pretty set depending on if like whether a blue person wins the next immunity challenge or whether a green person wins the next immunity challenge. Most likely they're taking Stan as that third person with them going to the final three and everything. So I mean, I think I might have saw that like too late type of situation, but yeah, at that like in the moment, yes, I did feel like Stan had my back and everything, but there was also the same like I should have seen more of the writing on the wall, and of course there's the whole big boys type of alliance that like we were like very like blind to for most of the game and everything. So like I should have been able to. I wish I, in retrospect, been able to see those like deeper connections and that there was probably a better path toward. Like obviously there was a better path towards the end for Stan that did not involve me. So I actually think that Stan made the right move in voting me out there. I don't think it was in the Greens necessarily, even though like I mean I guess they made it to the end too, but I still don't think it was necessarily in their best interest for me to go home there.
Annie, I want to know, you voted for Sharif, but
Yes.
the first question is, who did you think Sharif and Brienne and the others were voting for? Because we did see earlier in the episode, like you were shocked to find out that Danny was willing to vote for Kristen. So there was this big plan to vote for Kristen, and it was a true plan until Danny, put his foot down and was basically like begging with the other people to vote for you and save Kristen for one more round. So did you go into that tribal council thinking they were voting for Kristen and you were safe, or did you think that your name was out there?
I think I thought my name was out there. I knew my name was out there, but I still thought that the numbers were going against Sharif because yeah, just moving like going into like moving forward to like the next vote and everything. I mean, me and Brienne were probably like the least likely to win immunity in that final five spot and everything. So Sharif just seemed to make the logical sense vote in that aspect and everything, especially for like the green tribe and everything. So yeah, I was expecting to get votes that night, but I did not. I still thought that the numbers were on my side.
Well, I think Stan makes an interesting point here, which says, I would have considered a Kristen or Danny vote, but when they were deciding between Sharif and Annie, I was very close or hiding behind Sharif at that point strategically, which I think is valid. Also, if I am remembering, that's his wobbly stack, and Danny had won. So Danny was not up for elimination.
Oh yes,
So that I think that puts a whole other spin on it.
Yeah.
Like, if Stan was safe or even if Sharif or Brienne were safe, I think it makes it a much more interesting option to vote out Danny, but because he is safe, I
because he
think
was
it
safe.
really, yeah,
He yeah, by winning immunity in that spot, he definitely potentially saved himself.
Definitely.
And
The other thing, go ahead,
I just
Chris.
want to ask the question because Kristen brought this up the other day, and I think it could really affect the whole season as a whole. She said after the game was over that the two of you chatted and that you had thought that she voted for you. Is
Yes,
that true?
yes, I think the vote that Stan put on me in that one tribal council, I thought that came from Kristen. So that I think that was another reason why I like had more mistrust in, or like I couldn't fully like want to like work with her, even though like I see in the episode now that she was like very much advocating for me and everything. But I think that
Yeah.
between her like close ties to Danny and the fact that I had thought that she had previously written my name down and everything, between those two things, that was I think a big factor of why I was not as willing to trust her as much.
What about your vote out though? Did you think, because there was 2 votes for Sharif and the other 4 votes for, did you think it was Kristen that voted with you, or did you think it was Stan?
I thought it was Stan that voted for me with me. Yes.
Interesting.
But I had obviously very bad reads on that entire round. So
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily like, it's not the worst read in the world to assume that somebody who was with you the entire game was with you, especially in a 4-2. Like
yeah.
if it was a 5-1, obviously duh. But
Yeah.
like a 4-2 is like, okay, well, who's the only other person that would vote with me? And I think that makes more sense than just to say that, like, oh yeah, Kristen voted with me.
Yeah.
She got left out of the loop.
Yeah, I did not realize that at the time at all.
Yeah. Hi, Robin. Stanny's Rise. They're out about. Yeah, I think, Annie, it's interesting. A lot of people were very big fans of yours watching, and I think it's because you really articulated, I think, a lot of frustration that especially women feel in the game of like, why am I the decoy? Why don't people like want to listen to me? And I found it very refreshing as like from a survivor character perspective, but also just from like a live game perspective of like, yeah, Annie's right. Like,
No, and yeah, as I'm watching it too, I like that's another thing where I see like I feel like me and Kristen could have aligned better because she like really expressed that truth throughout the whole game and how like that archetype of being a woman, being a smaller woman, being someone that's not necessarily going to be able to command the people as well as the big boys alliance ever were, that like that type of archetype gets like overlooked or like not taken as like seriously sometimes.
Definitely. I also want to ask you, you wore an iconic dress after you voted out. How did you pick it out? Because also, wait, in your speech you said if there wasn't a hurricane, I would have worn a different dress for every tribal council.
Yes,
is that true?
That's 100% true. Yes, I had I think 9 dresses with me. That like so yeah, and I mean at these I don't think I specifically bought the dress for this. I might have bought a couple of them. I don't remember. I shop way too much, so I can't keep up with my addiction. But yeah, so I packed like not I think I packed like 9 different dresses or something, and I was planning on changing between each round, kind of like they do in like regular Survivor, where they go and then they come in a different outfit and everything and look all clean and fresh after each round. So I was like, yes, I didn't want to use all the dresses. Obviously, I hope that I would not use any of the dresses, but yes, I did. Yes, but yeah. So I had it was a blue dress, and I also had heels on too. That was when it was like raining really really badly, and I remember everybody was like worried that I was gonna slip. I think Naomi, you were like the most like worried about it, and you were like,
okay. Yes, because I was worried that you're gonna break an ankle.
Yes.
Because it wasn't just that it was like rainy and that I thought you couldn't walk in heels, because I knew you could walk in heels, but it was getting very muddy in that entrance to tribal council. Like it's so hard to explain to people who weren't there, but like the entrance to tribal council was just slick with mud. All of the paths were getting very slick with mud because everybody was stepping along them. And even when the rain would stop, it was just like nothing was drying. So I was like, you would also were sinking into the ground, which was really funny. But that's like such a classic like wearing high heels thing. But I was like, oh my god, Annie's gonna bust an ankle, and like we're gonna not even gonna be able to have final tribal council because she'll be in the like ambulance.
Wait a second, that just brought up a funny point. Do you remember, Annie, when you said I would rather die than wear a poncho?
Yes, yes, 100%. So I was I also did not wear a poncho or any type of like like when it was raining in those last like tribals, I was just like getting rained on like in my dress
I forced you to wear a jacket at some point.
I think
I cannot take this anymore. You're stressing me out. But it was a serve. That's what I love. Also, is like the jury. I feel like nobody appreciates the art of like what you wear on the jury and like the serve that you need to serve when you come out of those like like our members of our jury. And I loved that you had brought those. I was like very excited for that. And Mother Nature is a bitch because I wanted to see that.
No, I know, but I mean, it's fun. Like, it's funny, like because I mean, I'm from Florida, so I'm the most accustomed to there being a hurricane and everything like that. So, like, coming into playing like Survivor New York and there being a hurricane, just seeing like it just seems typical and everything. So, I mean, it's kind of like there's a thing too. I feel like hurricanes follow me. I like for work, I went on a trip to the Dominican Republic this past September, and there was also a hurricane that followed me there. The Dominican Republic didn't have a hurricane for like 20 years, and there was one there, and I'm just like, this is just like Survivor last year. Like they followed us. So. but yeah.
Oh my god, that's just crazy. I feel like the weather was just like absolute cacophony too. Especially at that point, like you can't hear anything. We're like begging everybody to talk really loudly, and also you're all
Yeah.
freezing, and everybody
Yeah,
put
we're
up
having to
with
like
it.
strategize in the tents, I remember, and you're like going on like one end to the other, but like there's really only like 10 feet away. Like you're right in the same area as
Yeah.
people. So that was a challenge as well.
Luckily, we even had the tent. My God, if we
Yeah,
didn't have
no.
that,
Oh,
we'd
thank
be
God.
screwed.
Oh my God,
My
I can't.
God.
Yes. I mean, I can't imagine what you guys went through on production and everything, having to like figure out like, yeah, because I remember even like the canopies, there was like one challenge where like it was just raining so bad that it was just kind of like flooding the entire area. Yeah, you guys
Yes.
persevered like so much. Like as someone that works like in
Luckily.
events and does things like this, I understand now like the challenges that you like faced and like just kept going with it.
It was the
Well,
Yeah,
survivor gods for
it
sure.
was. It
mm,
was like a real survivor experience though, like dealing with the elements and everything that I was not expecting from a like short weekend game.
something that I wanted to know, Annie, was what would you, if anything, what would you have liked to do differently to maybe secure yourself in the final 3? Because I think I said this on the Kristen podcast. I was shocked when you were voted out at final 6. I was like, I thought that people were underestimating you and that people were saying like, all right, if there's anybody I'm going to bring to the end, it's Annie. Um, and I thought maybe Stan was doing something like that, and I could not believe when you got voted out. But what would you have liked differently
Oh, sorry,
to
it's
change the
breaking.
course of the game?
Oh, sorry, it was breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat like the last part? Just what was I trying to do for to change my course in the game? Okay.
Yeah, if there's anything in retrospect you would
Yeah,
want to
I
change.
mean, I think in retrospect, I wish I would obviously would have like advocated more for myself in the spot that I got voted out and been able to kind of see like the writing on the wall more. If I would have known, I wish I would have known that that Kristen had my back more, and then maybe I could have pulled Danny as like a potential number to switch things around as well. But just like even leading into that, like and like I don't feel like I set myself up into a good enough position to where I had an enough like say in the game at that point and everything. So I kind of wish I would have taken more control like earlier on and kind of kept more of some of like the momentum that I had earlier and going in the swap and everything is feeling like I was more of more of a voice in the conversation instead of just kind of going along with other people's plans.
Makes
Annie, moving
perfect
into
sense
the
to me.
final tribal, I have
Mhm.
3 questions. The
Yes.
first one is, before the final tribal council started, who did you think in your mind that you most likely were going to vote for, like in order from 1, 2, 3? After that, your question was, what was your most villainous move in the game? Did you like or dislike anybody's answers to that question? And then, do you feel content with your vote or do you regret it?
So okay, so in the order going into it, Stan was my number one, Kristen was my number two. To be fair, honestly, there was 0% chance I was voting for Danny going into it. That sounds harsh. I'm sorry, it does, but that wasn't happening. Like, there's the moment where he forgets my name, like, and like that seems like it like might have changed my like mind, but that just was like the cherry on top or the icing, like on the cake or whatever. So yeah, I was definitely, yeah, I was definitely, there was like a big purple strong kind of thing going onto between like, I think Jeremy as being one like the first person out after the merge and everything, and he kind of like put like yeah, there was definitely this idea that like we wanted a purple person to win, and I think that was part of it as well. But like I did have somewhat of an open mind. I was definitely more towards Stan too, because I think another thing that like when you're on a jury, a lot of people want to see somebody win that you felt like you had something to do with their game or them getting there, and like a self like I at the time it's not something I was like conscious of, but I've just thought about it like since and everything. And I think that yeah, people want to feel like when you're voting for someone, you want to feel like the person that won, that you're part of their story somehow. So I think that was like another reason. But yeah, I think that like just yeah, and then at the actual tribal, yeah, like there were like again, I think Stan did a good job of that. I think there was like Julia's question where he like named pretty much everybody on the that was on the jury, like, and that was like a very like kind of funny moment, but it showed that he was like very good at like kind of like pandering to that and making people feel like they were with him at some point. But yeah, and then but yeah, I think that watching it back, I think that Kristen had an amazing tribal, and I think that she was just very like underestimated throughout the game. And I think that both of them played like really incredible games and everything. But yeah, watching it back, I wouldn't say I regret my vote, but I think I might have changed my vote. I think I really underestimated Kristen's game. And I think that because her and Danny were seen as like kind of a duo, that he got some of their credit. Whereas I kind of, watching it back, I feel like she got there in spite of Danny, not because of him necessarily. So no, that's not, no, I mean, no.
That's okay. It's like,
no, that wasn't meant to sound that way. I don't.
no,
I don't.
it's just really funny.
I feel like Danny's gonna hate me. Please don't hate me, Danny.
No, I think Danny's
I
taking
feel
a
like
lot of flack.
You just
and we'll
made
talk to
Kristen's
him.
night. Kristen's watching. I know Kristen is happy to hear this. So
yes,
say it again for
Danny
her.
I think, I think Danny
there were so many moments where like he's the reason why like her idol was known about and everything, and there were like many moments that like, she really had to work against him in order to keep them both safe in the game and everything. And watching it back and seeing that, and but
I think on the other side of that coin, and we talked a little bit about it with Kristen, is that Danny was making moves that were good for Danny, and to his credit, we had seen, Chris and I had seen Danny get voted out at the merge for being the challenge beast a couple times, and it's a very easy spot for him to go, for him to be like the tribe leader, and then okay, bye, see you next time. And I was very impressed that he managed to like really evade that situation. And yes, a lot of the time it was at the mercy of Kristen's game, or like it was at the like it was Kristen's game that was sort of falling to the wayside while he was sort of succeeding. But he did succeed, like gotta give him that.
No, he made it exactly.
Yeah, I love him for getting your name because your name is in his name. Like, it's my favorite thing.
I mean, it's also like I get like we only knew each other for 2 days and everything, so like it makes sense that like it's a lot of people to remember and everything. But at that point, like I was with him till the final 6. I was not the first juror voted out. And again, it's in his name. But I also like throughout it, that was like a reoccurring thing as far as like him getting people's names wrong. There was even the episode where he got Kristen's name wrong, and I think he called her like Caitlin.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
I was and I'm like, that's the person that you've known since. And we are a little tired, and we were like intense, and there's a lot of things going on. But that was like a very funny reoccurring little bit that I noticed.
One of my favorite things that I've just kind of noticed online is some people will write Christine instead of Kristen, which is so funny to me because if you're gonna get Kristen wrong, wouldn't you spell it the like Kristn way, not like the like Christine? Like what are we doing here?
I think Sharif at one point he voted for Kristen, and I think he spelled it that way too. I remember seeing that. I'm like, that's not even like yes.
You know what's really funny about Danny forgetting your name is that I cut it out originally in the final tribal council, but Alex remembered it because I had showed it to Alex, and he's like, "Didn't he forget his name?" I was like, How did you remember something like this?
It's so funny.
And I said to myself, you know what? I felt like that's kind of really disrespectful to leave it in there because it's like, it's Annie. Like it's not like a big moment. I felt like it wasn't like a huge moment. So I think he was like, oh, let me ask Annie while you guys are on the cruise.
Yeah, he messaged me.
For your permission if we could put it in, and you thought it was hilarious. So then I was like, okay, I'll put it in there as long as Annie's okay with that.
Yeah, no, I don't want
that.
No, I thought it was a funny moment and everything. I don't take things very seriously, and I thought it was just humorous, and I'm not somebody that's gonna ever be like, oh no, that was mean, or like feel like get offended that like Danny forgot my name. I just thought it was funny.
Did you think it was funny that he ended his speech like 1 minute and 15 seconds earlier because of that?
I didn't realize that until this very moment, but that's great. That's really, really great.
Like you stunned him that much, where he
that much that it's
like,
just like completely just threw him off.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like a shook face. I'll make like a compilation of everybody's like shook faces throughout the.
That's great. That's super fun. But
I have also the one thing I wanted to say, Annie, is that I have other potential Annie episode title was "I'm confused and I'm all wet," which I think is just like a great summary of the season.
I'm trying to remember what episode was that from.
That's from the Veronica elimination.
Oh, okay.
I literally don't even remember when she said that, but I remember you writing it in the because you give me all the potential episodes. I remember you wrote that. I was like, really? She said that?
It's so
Sounds
good.
about right. Yeah, that's a good way to summarize my game. I was confused and all that.
Annie, do you have a favorite moment from the game, from the experience, like something you look back on fondly, or maybe the reverse, like the thing you fucking hate the most? What what do you remember
Um,
most from the experience?
I guess the thing that like I hated the most was in the beginning where we were just like it was nice to win and everything, but it was just like we were just like sitting there like being like, oh, we're like a happy family and everything, and I was like kind of sick of hearing people's life stories after like 3 hours. So
Did you fall asleep like Stan? Did you take a nap or
no, I did not take a nap. I at least had it make it seem like I was alert, but I just and like yet I make it So that was probably the part of the game that I didn't like the most. The part of the game that I did enjoy. I mean, there were a lot of like great moments and everything like that throughout it. But I mean, just that like I did like that like the end like making the merge at the end of the night and everything, and then we did have that one like. But I thought that was like really cool because I was expecting that we were just like done and we were going to merge next morning and everything. So like that night and that night of like chaos, even though my name was on like the chopping block, I think that was just kind of like one of the most exciting points in the game and everything for me.
how did also I don't know if you watched this part, but when you came in second place in the Kristen and you immunity challenge, and I always loved how determined you were. You were not giving up in that challenge. Unfortunately, it was an elbow call, but I always you stuck through it.
No, for sure. I mean, that was the one I came the close. I had zero like expectation of winning a single immunity. It would have been nice, but I knew that was not going to be like one of my strengths and everything. But so I was like I'm excited that I even came in like second place in it. But yeah, like I mean, I was trying, but just like at that point, it was like my like I don't know, just my balance or something. There was something that I was like no, and then when you called it, I was like I understood. Like I was like pissed that I was like disqualified and everything. I was like no, it was very clear in the rules and everything. So
the most reasonable Survivor player. There are so many others who would be so pissy about the whole
that
thing.
challenge is the hardest challenge to deal with because everyone's like with their elbows and it just makes
there's
it
just
so
like a million things that
so
you have to like
hard.
look for calls and everything.
Yes.
And then someone's gonna argue with you and but I mean I once you said it, as soon as I would look down and was like he's right.
So probably a lot of people want to know this. Do you feel like you will play a live reality game again in the future?
I definitely would like to. I mean, I would definitely 100% like to. It just kind of just depends on what my like schedule and availability is like at this point. And like, unfortunately for my job, I wouldn't be able right now to be able to be away from like my phone or connection for like that period of time necessarily. But yeah, like in the future, after I finally quit this job and get a life again, then maybe. So.
I think that's like the adult life problem with these games.
Yeah,
Like, I'd play it on an island for 39 days if I had no responsibilities. That sounds fun.
Yeah, like I'm in the job that I'm in. It's just me kind of doing the job. There, if I'm not there, there's nobody else to pick up my slack, sort of situation. And even if I'm not physically there, I at least have to be like available to reach in case of a emergency or something stupid. They're not real emergencies. I'm not a doctor or anything life saving, but yes.
It's a party emergency.
It's a party emergency, yes. Like, oh no, they're serving as well liquor instead of premium. Like, call Annie right away at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, jeez, that's a real problem.
Yes, real problems, real, yeah, yes, exactly.
Amazing.
Problems.
Well,
when are you going to come to New York, Annie?
I'm
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
coming soon in a couple of weeks. At the end of April, I am coming to New York. I'm gonna be there on I'm touring. I'll be there on I think April
Ooh.
26th, maybe. Yeah.
Are you
I'll
gonna
be
go to a
there.
Survivor watch party?
I'm trying to. Yes, I am planning to. Hopefully, yeah. So hopefully, I'll get to
All
see
right,
some of you guys.
people. This is your
Yes,
chance. This is your chance to
yes,
meet
but
Annie.
yes. I'll be doing
Annie
a meet
meet
and
and
greet.
greet.
Meet and greet. No,
Let's
I'm
go to
kidding.
meet and greet.
I'm kidding. Yes, a meet and greet.
Yeah, we'll get
yes.
you like a step and repeat that says like Survivor New York Bannerman Island that you can.
Oh, I can bring it myself. I have stuff in repeats. I mean, I just have to might need to change it away from my company logo to like I'll make. I mean, yes, change it to like Annie somehow. Yeah, I can expense that too. No big deal. That'll be easy.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
I have a red carpet too. I can bring that along. I mean, yeah.
Oh my God! Please bring that.
I don't know if they'll allow that in my baggage. I might have to check something for that, but yes, I will be making an appearance at the end of the month. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
Well, is there anything else we should talk about before we say goodbye to all the Stannies tonight?
I don't know. I think we covered it. I can't really think of anything else, but this was a lot of fun, actually. I was like super nervous about this, but it was really fun.
Oh, you were great. You're a good talker.
Yeah.
Also, I'll say, Annie, I don't think we talked about the casting process a lot, but like I had known of you vaguely, and when you applied, and Emily Forrester had mentioned it to me, I was very excited. I still think very often about how you said in your job title was future divorcee. I laugh about that every time I think about it.
I forgot about that. Yes, unfortunately, yeah. Still in the future. I haven't gotten a ring yet, but like maybe in the next, that's yeah.
Oh, Annie, would you go on Love is Blind?
Oh my God, yes, that's the #1 reality show that I would love to go on, like without a doubt. It has to be. So Love is Blind is one of the ones where you have to live in the city that it's filming, and like about when they were filming whatever the Chicago season was, I don't remember what season it was. I have a good friend that lives in Chicago, and I even like considered just like using his address and like being like, oh, I should apply and use Jordan's address and everything. But yes, in a heartbeat, if I could do any reality show, and I feel like that sounds so stupid because I'm like, I mean, Survivor has a higher quality of reality show than Love is Blind. So like most people probably go on these Survivor, like do a Survivor live game and are like, oh, I would love to be on Survivor. Yes, I would like to be on Survivor. That would be cool and everything. But no, I'd rather be on Love is Blind 100%.
That'd be iconic.
I've never watched, but I would watch if you were on it.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, you gotta watch. These people are crazy. I love it. I love these horny lunatics.
Yeah. No, I would love to. If they're ever doing a Miami season, like sign.
They eventually will do.
They have.
Yeah,
to.
no, for sure. Yeah, I think they've only been to like New York, Chicago, and maybe Austin. I can't remember. But yes.
We'll work on it.
Season 6 is for you,
Season
Annie.
6 for me, yes. I mean, I'll still be single by that time. I'll be single in like season 20, so they can wait for me.
Oh my God. Okay, guys, everybody who's listening, let me tell you about what's going on. Tomorrow, Brienne, Davey, and I sit down and chatting about everything. The Brienne POV you're going to want to hear it. Then after that, we have the Danny chit chat as well. I think that's the 11th. Then Sharif on the 17th, and then Stan at some point. Veronica at some point. Look, we got a lot going on. But most importantly, as Valencia has pointed out, you got to like and subscribe. You got to become a part of the Silent Podcast family, aka just follow us. And most importantly, subscribe to Survivor New York on YouTube and tell someone you know to apply for season 7, which we're casting at tinyurl.com/SNY7app. If you have someone you think would be great on Survivor New York, tell us, tell them, type your little name out and put it in the application. We'd love to hear from you because season 7 is coming this summer. Very exciting, Chris. Chris, what's one thing you can tease about season 7? What's the vibe we're going for?
Like fairy, like dark forest vibe, spooky a little bit,
spooky ooky, glowy, little it's gonna be great. So make sure you're into that and sign up now. Awesome. All right, Annie, thank you again for being here.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was fun.
Meant a lot to have you there.
So thank you so much for casting me. It was a great experience, and it was
the most laughs we've had in any interview for sure.
Really? Oh wow!
For sure.
Oh my God! Yay!
It was great.
I don't know. Julia burping really took me out.
That was funny too.
All right. Thanks everybody for